I wanted to talk to you today about the Product Council roadmap. Um, the roadmap hasn't yet been formally adopted. We'll be presenting it in more detail on Friday, and we'll be voting on its adoption on Friday. But I think it's very important to give some context to the discussion over the next couple of days, so that people have an understanding of where these various things that we're going to be talking about, where they fit in, and how they relate to releases of Mojaloop, and what timescale you can expect. So this is just an initial look at it, and as I say, we'll dive into more detail in the individual work streams over the next couple of days, and the roadmap itself on Friday. So just to give you a brief introduction here, I've zoomed out here, so now you can see all the content, but you can't actually read any of it. So I'll zoom in and focus on individual areas. So the first thing to say is that the timescale across the top is demarcated by program increments, PIs. Essentially, it's the dates of community meetings, such as the one we're having today. And we normally do a Mojaloop release for every PI, and that will continue. The release that we've been working on up till now has been called Mojaloop 15.1. However, we're running into some issues with naming, with giving version numbers to our releases, because we're going through some major changes over the next 6 months to a year or so. So we've decided to use the process of naming releases, which is commonplace across the sector, I think. So the release which is about to go out, I'm not sure if it's gone out yet. Sam could tell me, but it's going to be called Mojaloop Acacia. So we're going to be using the Mojaloop Acacia release for all proof of concepts for production services, certainly for the next PI or so. And then that will be followed at the next community meeting by the release of Mojaloop Zambezi. And that's again, we'll incorporate the outputs from various work streams, as you see, and it will also include some elements of maintenance and performance updates, etc. And you can see here that 15.1 is used as the base for Acacia, with additions from various work streams. And similarly, Zambezi is based on Acacia plus inputs from various work streams. And then we have a break here where we release Mojaloop Baobab. Mojaloop Baobab is based on all of the work that's been done by Pedro and his team on re-architecting elements of the hub, and hoping to gain some performance improvements and a range of other changes. So this is built on the reference architecture. We can see down at the bottom, it's being built on the reference architecture code base for Baobab and Meerkat. So Meerkat will be based on Baobab, and we have Mekong coming along after Meerkat. But at the moment, frankly, the content of those releases is over the horizon. I can't tell you what will be in them, and nor can anyone else. Down the left-hand side, we have our pillars, which regular attendees at Product Council will know I go on about repeatedly. So pillar 1 is all about making adoption easier. Pillar 2 is what can we do to achieve scale? You've done your deployment, you've got your service up and running. How can we help you make it profitable or to reach your targets, whatever they may be, according to the context of your particular service? Pillar 3 is all about connecting your Mojaloop hub to other systems, and how can we facilitate that, and how can we be a good community player outside the core Mojaloop community. Down here, we have the foundation, which is all about making sure that the Mojaloop core itself is a quality product. So we're addressing some of the issues within the core itself to improve the operation of the core, to improve its performance, etc. Down at the bottom, we have what we call our strategic work streams. And these work streams are not technical. These are about engaging with other bodies, with regulatory bodies, with standards bodies, etc., in order to make sure that the work of the technical work streams is aligned with industry trends. So the strategic work streams are unusual in that they don't have any firm outputs. We don't know what the outputs will be. However, we expect that each of them will, if you like, initiate or define a technical work stream at some point, and then that technical work stream will be brought into the other pillars 1, 2, 3, or foundation, and that can be used then to make sure that Mojaloop continues to meet international expectations, international standards, etc. Before I talk about the individual work streams within each pillar, I'm going to shoot straight over to the right-hand side, and you can see here I have a parking place. So these are all the things that we would like to be doing in the future, but which haven't been adopted as official work streams yet. These are things which typically at a convening such as this, we would vote on for adoption within the next PI. So you can see in pillar 1, where it's all about making it easier to adopt, making it easier to deploy and use Mojaloop. We have 5 principal candidate work streams, none of which we are particularly working on at the moment. And similarly, for increasing scale, pillar 2, we have a lot of work on PISP. We even have over the horizon somewhat work on AISP, ATM integrations, IVR payments, etc. All stuff that we would like to include at some point. And then down here in connecting to other systems, we have actually 6 work streams, which are candidate work streams, which have not yet been adopted. ISO 222, which you'd expect, which is actually going to become a significant work stream very soon, just not this PI. And also here we have one which is integrate with international payment schemes, an increasing requirement that we see out there to be able to process a Visa debit payment, for example, which we can do. We have candidate technical solutions for this. We just haven't actually built it yet. And then within the quality product, we have one candidate work stream, which is all about localization, which can mean for a hub as a whole or for individual participants. That needs a significant amount of work, and a lot of fleshing out of what that actually means and the implications of it is by no means as straightforward as it would first appear. Now, to talk about the work streams themselves, which we'll be talking about the next few days, we have improving our support for on-premise deployment. And historically, Mojaloop was focused on deployment in the cloud, but we see increasing demand for deployment in data centers, on-premise, whatever it may be. And a lot of work has been done on that in the last PI, which will be talked about today, tomorrow, I'm not sure when. And we expect that work to continue into the next PI. Participation tools. We heard yesterday about the need to make it as easy as possible to bring candidate DFSPs on board into a new service, and that's what this work stream is all about. This work stream actually started rather late. It didn't start quite as early as you might think from this roadmap, but it will definitely continue into the next PI and possibly beyond that, because there's a lot of potential that we can do there. Pillar 2, we only currently have one PI here, but it's a work stream, sorry, but it's a very active work stream, which is all about merchant payments. At first sight, merchant payments seems like a very simple thing to do. You just push money from one account to another. It's actually a lot more complex than that. And the merchant payments is all about, this work stream is all about defining the need for merchant registration, for supporting merchant acquirers, and then actually defining things like QR codes and USSD payments and how they can be supported through a Mojaloop hub. A lot of work has gone into that, and we'll be hearing about that. However, it's not complete, and we expect that to finish in the next PI, and we certainly think that it will be integrated into Mojaloop Zambezi, which will be released at the end of February next year. Mosip integration. This is an interesting work stream, which is focused on integrating with other digital public infrastructure projects, and in particular working with Mosip, which is a digital identity project, and with MIFOS, which is essentially a DFSP platform, and with the Open G2P project, which is about supporting social payments. And there are integrations that those platforms have beyond that with things like CRVS services, for example, but we're only actually focused on the payment part, as you might expect. So this includes the ability to send money to somebody by identifying them by their digital identity, not by identifying them by their account or their MSISDN or whatever it might be. And it's actually quite a lot more difficult than it might first appear, because of the privacy preserving nature of digital identity solutions and the impacts on privacy and data protection. Foreign exchange is an extremely important work stream where a lot of work is going in. We've actually split this into two, where we have a work stream where we're doing a lot of work at the moment, which is focused on the what I'd call the MVP, and we expect that to be retrofitted into Acacia when it's ready, and then more formally committed, used as input into foreign exchange, developing the full solution, much more flexible, and not the simple FX case. Foreign exchange, work stream, we think it will go on for a long beyond the end of the next PI, but then it will be retrofitted into Mojaloop Zambezi. There's been a lot of work for as long as I can remember on building a next generation settlement model for Mojaloop. So making the settlement model much more sophisticated and flexible, and actually supporting multiple settlement models in the same deployment, so that we can work with a range of different financial institutions and their private settlement arrangements that they might have working. And also, actually, this is a key part of support for the full foreign exchange solution, which needs a more flexible settlement solution. Under quality product, we're working very much on improving performance of the Mojaloop Hub. We'll be talking about this over the next couple of days, but there is an initial output of that is integrated into the Acacia release, which is out very shortly, if not already. The work continues on that. We expect it to continue quite substantially into the next PI, and will be supported and will be integrated into Zambezi. Tiger Beetle is about changing the way that the ledgers work within the core. That work is continuing as we speak. It's actually very close to finished, and it will be integrated into in fact is already integrated into the candidate solutions for Baobab. We also think that it might be integrated into Zambezi, but I haven't included it here. Motor update and lifecycle management, that's a work stream which is complete, but its outputs aren't actually used until we release Baobab, which will be middle of next year. Down at the bottom, we have two work streams which are always active across every PI. One is platform quality and security, making sure that the security remains up to scratch, and we keep on top of any new developments in the security space, new algorithms, new key lengths, whatever it might be, and essentially making sure that our cybersecurity game is as good as it can be. And separately, we have a core team which is working on the code base and making sure that bugs are fixed, that dependencies on other open source projects are kept up to date with changes that they make, etc. A very important work stream that essentially keeps Mojaloop up and running and meeting the standards that you would expect. That will continue. Sorry. that will continue beyond the next PI. And in fact, once Baobab is released, we expect that core team to reorient itself to use the reference architecture code base from that point on. And again, platform quality and security, because there's been a change in architecture, will be a key part of that work as well. So that's the roadmap. I'm going to be talking in more detail about that on Friday. I'm hoping that you'll come along and join and vote on its adoption, and ideally you'll highlight any bits that I've missed and which should have been included in the roadmap. Just one thing to say before I close, and I'm really sorry about this, Simeon, but we have a huge amount of work which we've been doing in the last PI and which is carrying on to the next PI. So at the last product council meeting, or the one before that, we agreed that this convening, we're not going to vote on any new work streams for adoption. We're going to make sure that these that are here are completed, and then at the next convening, we will be filling in these gaps here with new work streams, and they will be focused on Baobab and all the work that we need to get that release out of the door. I should say that support continues through the core team from 15.1 through to Acacia. So any issues with adoption of Acacia, the core team will help. Similarly, as we go to Zambezi, and similarly, we'll be providing tools and support in the migration to Baobab. And that's it from me. That's all I have to say about the work stream. So hopefully I'll see you all on Friday and we can talk about this in detail. And hopefully you will also come along to vote on adoption of the Product Council Charter.